So my late father introduced me to music at a very young age through his very extensive vinyl collection. And I think the first thing he showed me was The Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd. And I remember listening to her voice and how creepy it was. I thought it was like a Halloween soundtrack or something really scary. So I thought that was cool. And then I had his Creedence Clearwater Revival Greatest Hits, Chronicle something. And I would listen to that all the time, and Michael Jackson. So I would just listen to all his records. I was probably 5, 6 years old. He was tired of me stealing his music and his CDs. Like, he had sounds of the 70s and midnight specials, and he was tired of me stealing his music and not putting it back, because I would just take it, and if it was a CD, I'd put it in my Walkman and listen to it. So I started going as a preteen and teenager to Lose Records, because they had a used CD section where you could get CDs for a couple bucks. And I didn't have a ton of money, and I was just like, I want to spend my allowance or whatever I earned or whatever on music. So I bought like every AFI record and Motley Crue and a bunch of classic rock, and I would just go over there and, you know, I'm like, oh, it has a scratch on it, I don't care, it still works, you know. So I would listen to CDs that way, and I bought pop CDs, I bought punk rock and all sorts of stuff. So I just kind of, I don't know, I started listening to everything I can get my hands on. And the thing that I enjoyed the most and felt the most fulfilling to me is rock and roll. And then I started trying to sing, but that was because of Dolly Parton and country music. I wanted to learn how to yodel, and I learned how to yodel. I'm not going to do it now because I probably can't do it anymore, but I learned how to yodel and tried to sing like Celine Dion and all these great singers, and joined my choir in middle school, joined my choir class. And that's how I started turning into a vocalist, I guess. And I would go to karaoke whenever I could, because it's super fun. But yeah, that's how I got, you know, my taste in music. And I don't know what made me want to do rock and roll. It just felt right. Aerosmith and Steven Tyler, I think. I could credit them with making me want to be like a rock front person. Thank you, Steven. I actually never thought I had talent. I don't come from a musical family. Nobody plays instruments. It wasn't anything like that. I wanted to be the best singer I could be, and I started doing everything I could. I sang the national anthem at my high school graduation, and I had never done anything like that before. I didn't know what like the reverb was, or when you got the you know, the delay from the bleachers, which totally threw me off. So it was very terrible until the last note, and somehow I just nailed the last note. But so I started taking vocal training, and I went to MI for a summer program in Hollywood, like years and years later. And but mostly everything I tried to just teach myself, you know, listening to my favorite front people and vocalists, and then I think, you know, life beats you up in the way that it does, and I think that kind of changed my voice, and it became an outlet for me. I realized I have a lot of anger, and like expressing it in that way was a very powerful release for me. And then it kind of turned into, now I want to be a songwriter. Like, it came later. Like I was like, at first I just want to sing, and much later in life I was like, I enjoy writing. So, you know, I enjoy lyrics a lot, writing lyrics. I didn't have a band in high school. I wish. I hung out with musicians. I didn't. Like, I just was told to focus on school so much that I didn't want to disappoint like my dad, you know, and he was an academic person. So, but then after high school, I was like, screw this, I'm going to Hollywood. And I don't recommend that to anyone because it's full of shitty people. But there are a lot of record labels there. And I don't know how I don't even know how I got to where I am. I just never gave up, I guess. And I'm not 21 anymore, so I hope hope that I would be where I'm at by now. Hey, it's okay to fail. I failed and fucked up many times. I mean, it's the total rock and roll story. I mean, I got caught up in drugs and alcohol, and ended up in rehab over the course of several years. And I wouldn't, again, recommend that to anybody. And I'm not like proud of it, but it is my story. And I am actually sober now and in recovery now, but I definitely lived that life, and it can take you to some pretty dark places. But if I didn't, what would I have to write about? Flowers and Lucky Charms. It's real life. So in a way, I'm okay with what I've been through. 2013-14, I found a manager, and he knew some producers, and one of them was a really big Black Sabbath fan and played guitar. So they were like, "You need a band," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Like, that sounds right to me. I'm not a pop artist at all." Doesn't mean you can't write a pop song and dress it up in a rock and roll suit, because those are the best. That's what Queen is. And so we decided to start working together, and it took about a year to make Rock Is Dead. And somewhere in that journey, I scored a record deal with Rock Nation. Flawless was actually our biggest single. It reached #8 on the mainstream rock and roll chart, rock Billboard chart. It's off 28 Days in the Valley. I wrote it with Linda Perry, who's my manager, who I'm dressed as today.
Okay, so when I went to do a little more research on you today,
oh Lord,
this is what it says on Wikipedia, which is amazing.
Which anyone can edit, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
So it's full of lies.
Even you could. But no, listen to this. It's alternative indie, rock, experimental, heavy metal, pop rock, punk, blues, rap, religious, and retro rock.
That's our genre?
Yeah.
That's on Wikipedia. You guys are ridiculous.
I've never heard of anything. It's a compliment in a way.
No, there's no way. Let me narrow it down for you. It's rock and roll. I did a collaboration with Dolly Parton, which was a country song. And I did a feature, Angel Hayes was featured on a remix of Flawless, which could be hip hop because she's a hip hop artist. But we are a rock and roll band, and I guess you have to really see us live to get that, because we don't use tracks. We don't use any like fluff. There's no fluff. We plug into our amps and play, No live auto-tune, none of that bull. We are currently on tour with Breaking Benjamin, Chevelle, and 3 Days Grace, and Diamante. And we are on the road for another 2 months. And when I get home, I gotta jump into making our 3rd record, which this one is for the fans. It's gonna be a very energetic, well, I don't want to put any limitations on it. What I would hope for is a very energetic, upbeat rock and roll album with a really good message, and one really sad ballad. The song I wrote for someone that I love very much, and it goes, "Walked up to the borderline, lost you to my fragile mind. Oh, I heard you bad." And that's the ballad, but that's all I'm gonna sing. I'm still looking for the title for this album, and if any fans or anyone has ideas, please send it to us, because we would love for a fan to name our album. That'd be so perfect. So send it.